first time playing against Chelsea where I'm actually, feeling like second best. I'm not quite sure what to expect. Chelsea started very, very well. We're going to be joined by Matisse, who's going to be joining me hopefully very, very soon, provided no more technical difficulties. Chat, let's hear you. Let's see where you all are. It's been a while since we've done a stream, to be fair. Been getting used to doing it in the pub, in the Caxton Armours. Make sure you've been looking at those if you haven't done already on the Talk Seagulls YouTube channel. This will be live on that as well, so make sure you give it a like if you are watching on YouTube as well. So it's been a weird start to the season. I'd say good on the most part. Lots of things have happened. Lots of things have changed. We're going through a bit of a transition. It's probably safe to say. Brighton haven't been in this situation before ever we were. We've made so many big signings. We're now sort of the team to watch. We're trying to get back to European competition. We're not used to maybe having this pressure on us. It's different for Brighton these days to be the ones that are, maybe the big boys, if you like. We are one of the teams to watch now. And it's going to be interesting to see how we cope with that pressure, the added pressure perhaps of, we've been there now. We've been to Europe now. We now want more than Europe. And that's not quite, what Brighton of old have been like. It's always been a bit of a, we've always maybe underestimated ourselves is what I'd call it. I'm worried about their speed, maybe. They've got a lot of pace in that attack, it has to be said. And probably one of the biggest things that's pointed out to me so far, particularly under Hertzler, is this high line. The high line is an interesting tactic. I mean, obviously, we saw, wasn't it, Ange Postecoglou at Spurs? He was really trialing it, really going for it, and he had a lot of problems. We might clearly just solely off the. Yeah, this is the thing. I think it was the Chelsea game against Spurs, and that was the one where he really, really got outed for it. I think it was one of the weirdest sort of 4-1 wins you'll ever see. And I think it was it Nicholas Jackson got a hat trick at the time, and who would have thought he would have been, even half the player he's been in this season. But yeah, it's going to be weird. It's going to be interesting. I mean, Brighton are probably, I'd say we're struggling in terms of at the back. We're not the quickest on the transition. We've been worrying. We are catching teams offside. That's fine. But I do feel like when you've got players like Van Hecker, like Dunk, like Veltman, absolutely love every single one of them. But I feel like when it's a transition, we could struggle with that. We've shown it on a few occasions so far. We have started well. Don't get me wrong. We have started really well. On the points, on the board, we've looked really good. And that's the most important thing at the end of the day. It's the points on the board. It's the games you win. And we have been winning games, and we have been sort of coasting through just. I think maybe the more reservation from me is probably, as I say, this transition. It is really the defense, probably, in the long run, it's the only part of the team that we haven't gone out and fully strengthened in the summer transfer window. And I think I alluded to it during the week, sort of after Forest. You could see a couple of frailties perhaps as to where, I'm sort of saying with this defense at the moment. Don't get me wrong, we're doing really well. We're still getting the points on the board. But you can sort of see different types of mistakes. Under De Zerbi, it was the playing out from the back, and then we'd sort of do something stupid. We'd probably give the ball away. And that's how we're probably going to concede. Or on the other hand, it would be through the midfield. I think we had mostly Gilmore, who absolutely loved him last season. But, so many times we just didn't have, say, for example, Caicedo, McAllister, players that are going to intercept the play, break up the play. We struggled with that last season. And I really didn't want to mention Caicedo McAllister because I saw someone in the comments the other day say, I wonder if you can do a whole podcast without mentioning the midfield crisis of last season. But those are the different mistakes that we have moved on from. Don't get me wrong. We've started really well. But I don't know. I think that there's different mistakes now. I'm just going to get Matisse in here. He said he should be coming in very, very soon. So we should have some Chelsea fans. I'm probably going to get some stick from Chelsea fans, which we love to see. Maybe a bad example, but I feel like the Wolves game in the Carabao Cup. Yeah, maybe. I don't mind us taking risks. It goes to show that we're willing to change. I think Hertz has done a really, really good job. He's put points on the board. He's taken on, a complete different responsibility that no Brighton managers had to do yet. It has to be said. No Brighton manager's been in a situation like we are. We've got Matisse in here now. I'm just going to get him on stage because I'm really keen to see where Chelsea fans are at. Because they've started well this season, it has to be said. I've got to take my bias hat off and say, look, fair play to Chelsea. Hopefully he comes in here. I do have some Wi-Fi troubles. So if I do dip out, we could have to restart the stream or even do this on a different pre-recording. But yeah, it has to be said, Chelsea have started well. I don't think they've lost many. A Chelsea fan in here can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but there's not many games, apart from I think it was Arsenal and a couple of the bigger teams, where we haven't really seen them lose too many games. And maybe it is starting to click a little bit. Maresca, everyone sort of wrote him off. I certainly did. Don't get me wrong, I still can't stand Chelsea, right? I'm not going to sit here and try and praise them and be a complete hypocrite because I don't like them. I don't like how it's got about it in the last few years, and I hope we win. But I've got to be honest and I've got to be, transparent and think, I've got to say well done and fair play for a good start to the season. We are in a very new start to the season, a very different start to the season. I think teams are better now in and around where we are, and that's going to potentially take its toll. As I say, there's a lot of teams in transition. There's a lot of teams that aren't used to being where they are. You see the likes of Villa, Newcastle, ourselves. The Wolves game is probably a good one to say, yeah, this is what we're trying to do. I think even though when you look on that game, we almost threw it away. Probably not through being silly as much. I think Jason still did make an error, but on the most part, he had a decent game. I think if you take the steel hate off, I thought he was okay. But even still, you could see where we were in a 2-0 position, coasting, looking pretty good. And then we just sort of worry a little bit. And you can see where the mistakes are happening, and they're different this time. They're not happening through midfield. They're not happening even so much through mistakes through passes. It's more just, I don't know, we probably don't look quite as composed maybe as how we have done in the past. Maybe we're not so comfortable on the ball. It is a different system after all. The German pressing is supposedly stronger and heavier and more intense than ever. We've not seen maybe that level of training, that level of where we're at now. I've been really enjoying. Yeah, absolutely. I think we have to say, as I said, what it is and where we're at. We're playing well, but we're not maybe in the right gear yet. I think that the potential for the end of the season is limitless. I think we're looking very, very strong. I think the squad wise, we've never been better. It has to be said though, without João Pedro, I do worry a bit. I think he really is our sort of talisman now. He's the one we look to. He's the one that is the big man that's always going to be grabbing the goals. And without that maybe clinical nature, yes, Danny's had a fantastic start up front. We know how good Danny Welbeck is, but you can't rely on him every single week. And I don't want to try and rely on him every single week. Yes, Brian Gruder's available. Well, according to Fabian Hertzer this morning, he's as available as sort of anybody else is. I don't think he'll be, starting by any stretch of imagination, but I think you'll probably see him hopefully on the bench, unless he doesn't turn up, unless there is a little sort of error in between now and then. But yeah, as you say, the high line is the issue. The high line is the one that's, we haven't played a team probably like Chelsea, who are very, very good at potentially taking that apart with quick and sort of pacey players, intelligent players. Cole Palmer, as we know, has been very, very good, and Kunku is absolutely rapid. It's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be an interesting game. As I say, yeah, we have started well. It has to be said, actually, maybe we should look at who has started well and who's maybe taken it by surprise. Maybe too much expectation on Yankuba Minte to begin with. As much as I absolutely love him, I think he will become a really, really good player here. But I think when you see the likes of Simon Adingra, for example, maybe one that got written off, and maybe one that, people thought, oh, we have Minte, we don't need Adingra. And how silly perhaps that's looking now, as Adingra's been a really good player for us again. Always seems to fall to him as well. You've seen in the cup games. I know that he wasn't at his best probably in Nottingham Forest, but on the most part, Adingra's been very, very strong for us, as we know. But I think there's lots of things to take away from this young Brighton team. Like, we've got to face it, right? I don't want to say it, but believe it or not, Fabian Hertzler is quite young. And with that is going to come naivety. And that's not just with the coaching, but that's also with the team. It's a very, very young team. And we've got to take what we can from that as well. It has to be said, though, we haven't seen the sort of new signings really yet. We haven't seen the likes of Matt O'Reilly, obviously. It feels like we haven't even seen João Pedro this season, to be honest, at least, and not to the extent I want to. Brian Gruder's another one. It's going to be interesting when we see that. Mats Wiefer, who's supposed to be, such a top player at PSV, one of the cogs of their season under Arne Slot, and now Arne Slot's obviously at Liverpool. So we've made some huge signings. It's going to take time. As I said to you at the beginning of the stream, for those who didn't hear, it's a different territory for Brighton. We're not used to this pressure. It's probably the most pressure that this club's had on it, you know, in terms of the level that we're at now. We've not been at the top level before. You know, this is a very, very new territory. We want to stay here, don't get me wrong. But it'll be interesting to see this season how we cope with that pressure, because we know notoriously how many times have we seen Brighton be the favourite, and we really struggle. Even in the last two games, I mean, the Ipswich game and the Nottingham Forest game, the two games we should have won, really, isn't it? I mean, chances we had, even when 2-1 up against Nottingham Forest, you know, we should have been seeing that game out. I can count a couple of occasions. I think there was Welbeck's chance that will be remembered the most. But again, it's a game that we should have won by far. And we didn't. It's okay. Well, it's not the end of the world. No need to panic, sort of thing. But you can see the naivety. You can see maybe where we're not quite there yet. And as you say, with that high line, which I'm sure I'll talk to Matisse about in a minute, it's there to potentially be exploited. I think Forest, to their credit, did that really, really well. You know, they waited their moment, and it was a simple pass that took us apart for the second goal. But it was a pass that was probably very, very avoidable at the same time. Nuno's, you know, known for his counter-attacking. And I think those sort of teams are going to low block you. That's fine. You can sort of, you know, accept that. That's what the Premier League is now. There's, you know, we saw Arsenal the other day against Manchester City. There's a lot of low blocking now. Matisse is here finally, mate. I can see you. Thank God for that. I've been waffling for about half an hour. It feels. How are you, mate? You good?
Yeah, bro. I'm good. Very, very big game. Very big game. I feel every game in the Premier League right now is, for us, it's massive, because everybody's just starting to talk about us this week and starting to say, oh, there could be a team now. There could be, you know, something in that Chelsea team to make a top 4 charge, or to be better than we expected.
What's in that Chelsea team for you, Matisse? What is it? Because it does look a little bit better. I've got to be honest. It does look a bit better.
I think for me, the key player right now is Caicedo. Like, he is, he's the player. I'll be honest. He's the player that makes the difference. If he's having a great game, then the whole team ticks, and he makes us look like a balanced team. And he's the only midfielder right now that's available that can do that. I think obviously Lavia has been injured. He remains to be injured. But when Caicedo's at his best, he's making tackles, making interceptions, he's passing the ball, he's playing out from the back. He's organising the build-up play. He's the main guy. We know that we got a lot of options in attack. We got like 3, 4, 5 attacking midfielders that we can rotate. But for me, he's the big difference right now. But yeah, with you guys, well, let's talk, because yeah, bro, you got options. I've seen your squad, and every single position's got like 2, 3 players. Like, it's a proper squad that you put together. It's mad.
It's interesting, you know, hearing it from the outside, because I agree with you. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you. I think it's just worth noting that we are very naive still. And as I said in the stream before you joined, the high line could be a problem. Nottingham Forest did a really good job of it. I seem to remember a game that you guys played against Spurs last season, and it almost bullied Ange into, you know, stop being so stubborn, if you remember rightly. Yeah. And I hope that we're not that naive to go to Stamford Bridge in the way you're playing at the moment, with sort of the quality you got on display, to go and do a high line. Because the only concern is, it's fine-ish, only if you've got the defenders to deal with it. I love Veltman, I love Dunk, but if you're going to transition them against the likes of Nkunku, Palmer, etc., on the turn, it's a mismatch. So there's that worry for me. There is still some sort of like teething problems with Hertzler's football, as expected. You can't expect him to sort of be, you know, completely ready as a young manager and whatever. But, you know, I feel like it's a different Brighton now. It's not the same Brighton that I'd normally come on and talk about. The old Brighton, I'd come on and say anything. Who cares, right? We're Brighton. If we lose, it doesn't really matter, does it? Whereas now we've spent nearly 200 million. You know, the team's looking stacked, as you say. We rightfully, you know, people should look at us and think, you know, Brighton should be expecting a little bit more this season. I don't know how we cope with that expectation. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Yeah. You know, how do we get through being the little club, you know, that are pretty irrelevant, to now being, you know, you got to have a bit about you now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. Obviously, the money spent is vastly from probably us, giving it over to you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Quick payments.
So yeah, the relationship continues. But yeah, I mean, I look at your attacking depth. Welbeck obviously gets his first free kick of his career last weekend, but I've always rated João Pedro very highly. I think he's a very, very smart sign that you made from Watford. Adingra, we know Solly March has been out for ages, but you've still got, Matoma. You've just got so many options. When you look at the squad, I'm thankfully going on Saturday Social on the weekend, and they were
nice.
One of the plans that they had was to pick the most important player in the Brighton team, and I was struggling. For every other team, I had like, okay, 2-3 players. I'm picking between 2-3 options. For Brighton, I was like, who do I pick? Because I could go Dunk. In the end, I think I went with Hinselwood, because
really
there's something about that kid being quite positionally versatile. And I don't want to make comparisons to Pascal Gross, because Pascal Gross he's going down in history as probably one of the most underrated Premier League players. You know, when they say 100%. Barclays men, he will be one of the Barclays men. The guy must have played up front, 10, right back, midfield, everything. So I'm not saying Hinselwood is as positionally versatile as him, but he's played midfield, he's played right back, and I'm looking at the kid, I'm thinking, Lamptey's always injured, Veltman's getting on in age. He looks like he's going to have a breakthrough season. I know he's made appearances before, but like rubber stamp starting 11 every single week, like it's going to be his season. So he's the one I went with, but I was kind of forced because I couldn't think of who in that team do you have to tick, because it feels like anybody can be taken out and exchanged, even at left back, Estupiñán, but then you signed a very accomplished Turkish fullback there over the window. So I was like, I have no idea who to pick.
I mean, you're right to an extent. I don't know if he should probably take himself as being the most important.
Probably not.
But I mean, don't get it wrong. He's been very, very good. And yeah, I get where he is like a little Pascal Gross. He is a bit of a baby Gross. I think a lot of people have said it in the past as well. He sort of can play. He has played left back. He has played right back. He has now played midfield. So he's halfway there to be Pascal. But I don't know, because for me, the team doesn't tick around one player.
Yeah.
As we know. But I think that the team particularly ticks to get better under João Pedro. I think without João, it's just not the same. Okay. And the reason I say it is the running. And I absolutely love Jorginho. I think he's going to be a very good player for us, the one we signed from Leeds. And you'd expect so for 40 mil. But at the same time, João's clinical. If you put him in front of goal, I back him 9 times out of 10 to score. I think if he's going to get the ball across goal, he's going to score it. Whereas you see the last 2 games against Ipswich and against Nottingham Forest, we had so many chances. As much as I love Danny Welbeck, as much as I love Karim Mitoma, and even Minte, I can put in there, and Adingra. Yeah. I love all of them players. I think they're all brilliant players in their own rights. But if that ball goes across, or it's a 1-on-1 or something like that, I wouldn't have that confidence that they're going to score. And I think that's the difference between having João Pedro and the difference between having anybody else. And that's really, for me, is what separates us between being a good football inside and between being Brighton that can compete with the best teams in the league. That's my worry, is he's now injured and we actually don't know how long for. It could be weeks, could be months. We don't know.
Right.
And he, for me, is the talisman. He's the one that, as I say, he is the guy. We saw it at Arsenal. We've seen it at the beginning of the season. And he still missed pre-season. He's still firing goals. It's crazy. So that for me is the worry for me. Yes, I agree. Hinch is a good player, but without him, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll talk to you just quickly about Danny Welbeck, because I feel like he gets underrated, and he goes to Stamford Bridge, and more often than not, he scores a goal.
He does. Yeah,
I think
he does.
His record up in London is very good. For you, looking at a Brighton team, Welbeck used to be a bit of a meme, right? In the football space. I think Arsenal made him a meme. I think at United he was not so much, but when he went to Arsenal, it was a bit of a joke. But for Brighton, honestly, I'd put him as one of our best players in the last 5-10 years. He's been superb, honestly.
He's aging gracefully, is what I would say. I'd say he's always been a threat. He broke through very young at Manchester United. I think he was like 17 years old when he broke through into that team. And the thing with him was always, can he be clinical? Can he be ruthless? And as you're saying, I still don't think he's at that point, and he's never going to be that player where you're expecting, goals every single game, and he's going to be super ruthless and clinical. But he's a handful. He's a real handful. And I'm thankful that over recent weeks we look like we're starting to deal physically a bit better. Colwell started the season brilliantly. Sanchez has been a little bit more, assured in his cross collection over the last couple of weeks, because we're gonna, and Correa has been a bit of a dog as well. I realize I'm just naming former Brighton players.
Yeah, you might as well be naming our team, mate. Honestly,
do you know what I mean? It's actually ridiculous how many players we've signed from your club. But yeah, there's been a little bit more of a physical nature to us, and it has to be like that because Welbeck, he has no problem, you know, going through players in terms of being a bit of a battering ram and being a bit of a focal point. And like you said, Pedro is a bit more glossy, a little bit more technical, a little bit more skilled. I don't really want to come up against either of them because I can see that Welbeck's aging gracefully. Like I said, I can see he's having his, I think he's having his best stint in his career at Brighton. He might not be banging loads of goals, but I think he's respected now. I think everybody knows what he brings to the table. I think he's found his kind of home. I think he's found his role in that squad, which is a role where you have responsibility, you have leadership traits to bring to the table because you have been around for a while, but you're not expected to play every single game. João Pedro can come in. We haven't really seen Ivan Ferguson in a while as well. I'm kind of almost ready to ask you where he's gone. Yeah,
he's literally back now. So I'm glad you mentioned him actually, because as I say, with João Pedro out, probably the next most clinical player we got is Ferguson. But with that said, you then suffer the overall game. So Ferguson is fantastic finisher. Probably will go down as probably one of the most clinical players I've ever seen. Apart from say Glenn Murray, because I've never seen that guy miss an open goal. But when it comes to Ferguson, I love him. I think he's a great player. He's going to be a great player. But then we have to remember he's 18 or he's 19. He's stupidly young. For a centre forward, you don't tend to see many strikers at his age have 12 Premier League goals. I think the only one that did is Rooney, if I'm right in saying. And normally, more often than not, a teenage centre forward in the Premier League is not playing in the Premier League. He's on loan somewhere, or he's playing in the academy. So I think Ferguson has to come back at his own pace and let him do what he needs to do. I think he's, as I say, he didn't. The worst thing that probably happened to him was getting that hat-trick against Newcastle, because it put everyone thinking, "Oh my God, this kid's an absolute wonder kid." And actually, in that game, he got injured, and that's what's ruined him for the last 6 months. And since then, people just call him a flop, which is crazy. He's still a teenager. For me, he's still a youth player. Right. I still look at him and I'm like, he's still a youngster. I don't even expect him to score. I don't expect him to play every week. But now with João out and potentially Welbeck's, minutes are a bit here and there. Again, we're in that situation of who goes up front for Brighton. I mean, Jorginho has played up front, but by no means is he a clinical goal scorer for Leeds at all. I think he's more of a sort of all-rounder. He'll actually cover probably what João Pedro can do in terms of that sort of running in sort of the higher end of midfield, would I say. And he'll make that link-up play a lot more smoother. But I still don't think Ferguson should be looking at even starting yet. But he will definitely be looked at for Chelsea because maybe them chances will come up. Because I don't know what you're taking as of Chelsea at the moment, but is it you're expecting to then control this game? I've heard Mascara is very good at wanting to control the game, to his credit. And, it's maybe a little bit possession-based, playing out from the back stuff. Or are we going to see a little bit of a different Chelsea as well?
We didn't really control against Bournemouth. We struggled. It was a really tough game for us. Yeah, it was a really rough game. So it kind of ebbs and flows. It's really early on. And because I'm not expecting his philosophy and his kind of style to be just consistently imprinted on this team game to game, it wouldn't be a massive shock if we didn't completely control the game. And you guys, because you guys are, you're notoriously known for keeping the ball very well, and even going to Etihad and going to Emirates and outplaying these teams. So it wouldn't massively shock me if possession was at least shared and you guys had a bit of the ball and we just had to do a bit of defending. It wouldn't really massively bother me either. It wouldn't be like a red flag or any warning signs or anything like that, because I kind of just expect Brighton to have the ball in games. I don't expect them to be controlled or anything. So I don't know if that suits you guys to give us the ball, how you feel about, maybe defending narrow and maybe forcing us out wide. Maybe that will be a game plan. But us, I think we will try to control the ball and keep the ball. We just need to start how we started against West Ham, which was first 10 minutes, we were fantastic. We blitzed them, kept the ball, every pass was on point, and then the momentum just took us. And if we get an early goal, then that calms the crowd down. Maybe you guys have to come out and then, it's a different game. But I said on DR today, I think it will be a tough game. I don't think it'll be an easy game at all. I do expect us to win it, because if we're going to be this week we're getting our confidence back as a fan base. We're starting to say, hey, we could do something. These are the type of games we have to win. And we've got too much quality in the team to drop points. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one. So is it just João Pedro that's out? Is there anybody else? Because to be honest, our injury bill is pretty much exactly how it was. It's Lavia and James.
Yeah. Ours is pretty much as it was as well. Obviously, Matt O'Reilly's been out it will be out for a long time. I don't know if you saw it, but he got injured, I think 6 minutes into his debut.
I saw, because I remember I predicted you guys to be like 12th before you made some more signings, and then you made more signings. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah. No, Matt O'Reilly would have been the perfect player, because when we come up against Ipswich and Forest, that's exactly what we want. We want someone to try and pick the play up, and when they're low blocking us and we can't break through it, and that's our biggest problem. If Chelsea do get an early goal and you do low block us, not that I probably expect you to do that, but if you did, it's an instant win.
Really?
I just wouldn't back it. I wouldn't back it. I think the only reason we scored our 2 goals like we did was because I think we were getting frustrated. You could tell against Forest. We were getting very, very frustrated. A lot of sort of cheating, I probably call it, from Forest. A lot of time wasting, holding on to the ball. I think it was only about 18 minutes and they were taking forever to take throw-ins and goal kicks. And you're thinking, right, it's going to be one of them. Yeah. And it was only because I think that sort of passion you want from Jack Hinchelwood, powering in with a header. And then Welbeck caught him cold, obviously, with the free kick. I think other than that, we didn't have a great deal of chance in that first half to really, look like we were coming back. If anything, we probably looked a little bit, looking around a little bit and thinking, how are we going to get through this low block? And I'll give credit to Forest for the way they defended. But I think if Chelsea's, what's your defence saying these days? You say Colwell's breaking back into it. Caicedo's looking good, which we would expect as Brighton fans anyway. We've seen both of these guys play and we know they can be very, very good defensively. But if it is a case of a 50-50 match where you've sort of got the possession equally shared, it could be a case of a couple of chances. Then you are looking at someone like Ferguson to crop up, or someone like Danny Welbeck, because I don't know particularly how many chances we're going to have, to be honest. I think if it depends on how you say you are defensively, but I probably wouldn't say we're going to maybe control it. If anything, we're probably waiting, like that classic German pressing side is now. Yeah, I think that's going to be where we go. Gegenpressing on Football Manager is sort of the tactics now.
Right. So do your wingers stay quite high and wide like they used to as well?
Yeah, we've got a lot more pace on the wings, so it's got to be said. Yeah, Minte's ridiculously fast,
rapid. The wings is where I'm mainly focusing on from our perspective to kind of stop the wide players, because our defense was great against West Ham, considering who's in that West Ham attack. I rate all of their attackers. I think they're very talented players. So I was quite surprised actually that we didn't concede at all, and we just kept them at bay. We controlled that game. Colwell's in really good form. Like I said, he's almost become like one of our creators. The way that he passes out the backs, breaks lines, is just ridiculous. Tossin's been quite mature coming in from Fulham. He's kind of just been a level head that just kind of settles the team down. Fofana's had his little moments where he's, shown lapses of, maybe concentration or mistakes here and there, but I'm not really too concerned because he's just come off so many injuries. So it is what it is. And Gusto's back. Cucurella has been brilliant, and Sanchez is looking better than last season so far, but early days. So defensively, I think most Chelsea fans are still going to have a bit of PTSD. Defensively, last season we were absolutely horrendous. Yeah, but we do feel like we are better structurally right now. We're not as gung-ho back and forth, which means that we don't leave as many gaps. But it's very small sample sizes. It's very much just going off recency bias, I guess you could say, because we don't have anything else to go off. Yeah. So we have to be careful when we say these things, because anything can happen in the Prem. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's true, but this is what we're at as well, because as I said, it's the first time Brighton are in this situation of so much player turnover, manager turnover, staff turnover. Money as well, for a start. Like, the amount of money we've spent is ridiculous. So it's actually completely new territory for us. So for me to even call out any of our new signings as being this, that, the other, I can't really say that. The ones I can guarantee you to be who they are is the likes of Karo Mitoma, Lewis Dunk, Van Hecke. I absolutely love them sort of players that have been here for a long time now. But at the same time, I can't really give you an honest analysis of what I think Jorginho is going to be like, what I think Minte is going to be like, because I've only seen Minte play 4 games, and in them games he's either looked electric against Everton, and he had them on absolute strings, and if it wasn't for his injury, I think he would have been probably man of the match in that game and got a couple of goals. But actually, the last 2 games, Minte's looked half that player, and he looks like he's cutting on his left too much. Again, can't say that because who am I to judge that after only 2 games of, maybe not looking so good. So it will be a case of who turns up. I actually don't know. Hertz's football is interesting. I like it. I do like it. But there's still that reservation for me on where it goes yet. I mean,
is it a lot more direct and fast paced, would you say? Yeah,
it's definitely more direct, and it's definitely, I would say, we would take a chance if we can see it, I think. But then with that comes a few bits of naivety. As I say, I think the way we control the game is, if you argue some games better in terms of, okay, he's made some very good substitutions. If you look at United and Arsenal games, he brought on 3 attackers against United in the, 87th minute, and we were 1-1, and then we won 2-1. Masterstroke, it looks unbelievable. Arsenal did the same thing. We went away there. Obviously, the dodgy yellow card, second yellow for Rice, obviously went down. But actually, what you saw there was Brighton flipped that completely in their favour. We brought on some different, I think we actually took off Mitome. We took off a couple players and actually looked better for it. One player I really like is Yassine Iyari, but it's yet to be seen if he's going to be fit. You probably don't know who he is, but I bet you make a bid for him at some point soon. He signed him.
We'll add that to the list.
Yeah, he's been on loan in Coventry and West Brom, and actually didn't do that well out on loan, to be honest. But he's another one, a talented midfielder, looks really good. He actually suits the Prem better than the Championship. But again, small sample sizes, right? I want to see more of. I think Balaba's going to be the one to watch for you from our end. I'll pick out one to watch for you in a minute. But Carlos, mate, honestly, he's been... When how the Chelsea fans are bantering us about Caicedo and saying, your new Caicedo is a bit of a flop, whatever. This season, he's looked anything but. He honestly looks like one of our best players. Physically dominant, powerhouse, very quick. Good on the dribble as well, which is surprising. He gives me them Yaya vibes, you know what I mean?
So I saw him score a long shot the other day.
And his shooting ability is brilliant. Really? So he actually is a bit of a complete sort of, if everything you want in a powerhouse, and a little bit more probably. He's probably one that you will look at. I'm not joking, because he's got Caicedo's tackling, but he's probably better than Caicedo going forward. So you might.
The thing is with us, we got too many midfielders, so we better.
Well, we got Dewsbury Hall now, so all's good in the world,
bro. But, we got. Oh my goodness, yeah. I remember.
I forgot about that name.
Funny thing is, we don't even need him, bro. Like,
I know, that's what I mean.
We've got Andre Santos. I think we obviously brought him in from Maresca. He didn't stand out massively against Barrow, which is a bit disappointing for him. But we've got like Andre Santos killing it at Strasbourg. We've got Okechukwu out on loan at Southampton. We've got high hopes for, on top of Enzo, Caicedo, Lavia. There's no need for us to come back to you for another midfielder. No need for us to really, if Dewsbury Hall doesn't look to be at least important this season as a squad player, then there's no reason to really allow him to block the path of Santos and not move him on. So you might be able to still get him. Listen, with that one, I don't really get it. It was just purely a sweetener for the manager, I guess. Bring him in with someone that he knows and recognizes. But Lord heavens, that's all really there is to it.
Okay. All right, give me some players to watch on your end. Now, obviously Palmer and that I get.
It's
always going to be one to watch, but from our perspective, what I said about the high line, obviously, it might change tomorrow. We might, as I said, there has been very, very good early signs of changing it up. And that's one thing I really, really like the signs of, is he's not afraid to change it. He's not afraid to make substitutions, maybe change formation. We haven't really seen that yet. So what are we saying from your perspective? Looking at us players, what are you thinking?
For us, I'm hoping and wondering, we're debating, can we have like a Jackson and Cuckoo start together, which would mean Palmer would go back out to the right, Sancho would stay on the left, and then Cuckoo would play in the 10 behind Jackson.
Sancho, I forgot about him.
Yeah, and if we could put that together, that probably potentially could be our most dangerous front four, because in Cuckoo's just off the back of a hat trick. Obviously, Jackson scored 2 against West Ham, and they're both banging in goals. So if we can get them both on the pitch, which from a profile standpoint, there's no reason why we can't play them both. I think Nkunku personally is better as a second striker anyway, and he used to play in a front 2 for RB Leipzig. It's just whether or not we're going to give the support to Palmer that he might need as a winger, as opposed to Madueke, who doesn't need any help at the wing. He just takes his man and goes past him. And then in midfield, it will definitely be Enzo and Caicedo, I think. And the defense, as I said, I think the defense just need to kind of follow up with what they've been doing. But in terms of most dangerous, I'd say right now, Most dangerous would be if Nkunku and Jackson start. That would be a big problem for you guys because those two are both on red hot form. They're both confident. There's perfect competition for them as well. So they're kind of feeding off of each other. And I think they both link up with each other brilliantly as well. But in terms of someone, maybe an outsider, I'd keep an eye on the bench. Last season, I said Liverpool sometimes in first half of games I watched, they didn't really play brilliantly, but then there was bringing on Jota, bringing on Gakpo, bringing on Nunez. And the bench is what is the problem, because when you're bringing on Felix and you're bringing on Neto and you're bringing on, potentially it will be Nkunku probably on the bench, or it will be Madueke or whoever. That bench in that last 20 minutes, when energy levels are starting to drop, if the game is close, or even if the game's not close, Maresca's, he's shown that even if we're winning the game 1-0 or 2-1, he's not actually even interested in going defensive, like maybe Potter would have gone last. He'll just bring the fresh attackers on and just let them go and kill the game. And yeah, the bench is actually the biggest issue, because you know what you've got in front of you when the starting 11 goes out, and then you match them up, and both teams are concentrated, committed at the beginning of the game. Legs start to tire, people are on bookings, whatever, last 20-30 minutes, and then you got fresh players coming on that are very, very talented players on their day. That's when the problem. And Pedro Neto, yeah, he's kind of just warming up. I feel he's one of those players that I think is due a big performance pretty soon, because he's got the quality. He's just kind of just slowly bedding in.
See, this bench thing, I'm glad you said it, because it's similar to actually how we've been going as well. The bench that we had out the other day was just ridiculous. By our standards, I've never seen a stronger Brighton bench. The likes of Ferguson, etc., on the bench is ridiculous. It could be interesting, because Adingra had his chance to start the other day, didn't really take it. Minte came on, probably didn't look maybe as good as he has done. So you might see a change there, but one way or another, you've got a very quick winger to come on in either way or the other. The other one I'll probably look out for on our end, actually from the bench side of things, is Brian Gruder. We've not seen him yet. We've got no sample size whatsoever. We signed him for 30 million from Mainz, apparently meant to be a dream signing, if you believe Fabrizio Romano. One of the most talented German prospects is what I've been told by German people. Again, we could see that. We maybe a little bit. I don't know yet. We'll see. But apparently been compared to a bit of a Cole Palmer-esque sort of player, which would make sense considering we actually wanted Cole Palmer a long time ago from Manchester City's youth team. Yeah. So shock that you've got him. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a really interesting game. I feel like we've exchanged quite a bit. I want to hear your predictions. Like, do you class as a rivalry, Matisse? Do you think this is still a rivalry? Because I don't know if I care enough anymore.
Nah, it's not anymore. And do you know what? We had our time. And it was fun. I'm sure Southampton and Liverpool had their time as well when they were doing a madness with Van Dijk and Lovren and
maybe one more year,
Lambert and all that. But nah, to be honest, in that time, because you guys were taking so much money off of us, and to be honest, that money is still a lot. Like, the Caicedo fee is still a lot for Caicedo, even though he's performing really well. He's still overpriced. Cucurella is still overpriced. Sanchez is still overpriced. So it's not like as if these games have made us feel, although now we're starting to see these players perform, which is great. So we won't really care as much, but we still know that you guys got nice money out of us. So but I'd say now, yeah, we're pretty calm. We just need to be winning. And when we're winning, we should be up there with we should be above Man United and Tottenham this season. And those are our kind of rivals, I guess, for the Premier League and the positions. We need to be in top 4. And then it will be straight to thinking of the likes of Liverpool and upwards, because that's the rivalries we want to have. If we got a rivalry with Brighton, no disrespect. If we got a rivalry with Brighton, then we got a problem. Like, we don't
make the rules. We don't make the rules. But what it is, I'll be interested, because it could all change tomorrow. I bet if I was to text you tomorrow, if we win, I reckon your answer will be very different. But at the same time, I still really don't like you. I'm gonna be a nice.
Listen, we really can't have you winning. Like, because if you win, I know what accounts are gonna tweet, including yours. And I know the figures and the names, and I know it's all gonna come out. And then we're gonna, and even your admin for your social account is quite cheeky as well. I've seen what he was on last season when you beat Man United, I think it was. So this is definitely like a must win. And it's underlying. Like there's no beef, but there will be if
So there is.
if things goes wrong.
It's still alive, is what you're saying. I mean, I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it. I still don't like you guys. I just forgot about you guys, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I can't look. The thing is, I can't look past like Cucurella, Sanchez, and that because I just remember at the end of last season, I think when we had barely anyone fit. I think we fielded practically an under-23s team against you guys. And I remember Cucurella just having to go at everyone. I think
your away fans are going to boo as well, isn't it?
Oh, mate, I'll be in the away end. I'll let you know. I'll probably have a sore throat by the end of it. But no, come on. It's going to be an interesting game. Come on, let's get a prediction from you. Genuinely, from the bottom of the heart, what do you think?
Yeah, I do think we'll win. I've been playing with a 2-0 or 2-1. Now that you've told me Giles Pedro's definitely out for this game, right? He's not in.
100%. It'll be lucky to see him again anytime soon, unfortunately.
Oh, that's a shame. Because I really like him. I think he's quality. I also miss Solly March on the record. I miss that guy.
I love Solly, man. He's a great player. But yeah, he had an double ACL injury against City. Well, an ACL and something else, I think it was, with his knee. So 2 knee injuries in one go is
I might go over. I said 2-1 a few hours ago, but now I'm thinking 3-1 because you've reminded me about Welbeck's record against us. And I feel like he's just one of those players that are a little bit inevitable with us right now. So I'll probably go with him to score if he's definitely going to start. If he's not, I say 2-0, I'll keep that. But if he's going to start, I say 3-1 to us. Yeah.
3-1. God, my head will be crying if that happens. I've got to see my cousins afterwards, and he's a Chelsea fan.
Oh, dear.
I've had a few exchanges over the last few years. No, we can't lose. We got to just go there and try and go for it. I think it would be completely wrong to say a loss. I'm not doing that.
But you guys, you're not under pressure coming into this game, though, are you? Because you've had a solid start to this season, isn't it?
I don't think there's such thing as pressure in Brighton at the moment, really. I think the only thing that would be pressure is if we don't get in the sort of top 9. 10. Yeah.
When I was trying to do it's like top half of the table is really competitive. Like I was saying, like you could finish 5th or you could finish 9th. Like it's really Newcastle, Villa, West Ham, yourselves, like Man United. It's ridiculous. But you don't want to be bottom half. I think you guys, with what you spent, players you got, you don't want to be bottom half. You want to be. And you don't want to be behind Palace.
We're better than that. Oh yeah, there's that as well. Last season was a joke because the fact we finished 11th last season. Honestly, I feel like we just quit after about March, and we just gave up. But we just the injuries just keep killing us every single time. It seems one of our most important players keeps getting injured, and that's what's so frustrating. I do feel like I've been a bit negative on here today, and I didn't mean to be because I'm not. I think we've been playing really, really well. I think with what we've gone through, it's a real different situation. So with what Hertzler's got up against it at the minute, he's doing a very, very good job, and I wouldn't expect him to do much more apart from probably beat Ipswich.
Do you know what? Yeah, do you know what it is? It's that Ipswich result. I think even Forest have got off to a good start. They'll give people
Forest
a game.
I can live with.
But Ipswich is one of those results that will sit there in the back of your head for the whole season. If you don't finish where you want to finish, you'll never forget Ipswich.
Yeah, and it was frustrating because we had so many chances again. It was ridiculous. Yeah. We controlled the game. There was one winner in that game, right? And it was the fact that it wasn't us and it was a draw. Okay, you forget about it by the end of the season if all goes well. But as you say, if it doesn't, you come back and think about it. Yeah. So I'll keep my positive hat because I don't think there's any reason to be negative. The only thing I am worried about, as you say, is João Pedro. It will be interesting, but I think Jorginho's got a massive opportunity to step up now. He can really, because he's a bit of a passion merchant. He loves it. He loves coming over and doing a bit of this. Saw him do it at Leeds as well. They used to love him for it. It's quite funny getting a little one up on Leeds because no one likes him, do they?
No one likes him. Can I ask before you, what's your best centre back right now? Would you say? Because it's not
JP.
Okay, yeah.
Van Hecke, 100%.
Yeah, because I was thinking that too today. I was just trying to fit because obviously Dunk's got a big reputation, captain, etc. But I think Van Hecke's really he's grown a lot in the last couple of years, and Webster was a good player as well before, but then I just remember his drop off, and even Colwell started to take his place, and I can see that there's changing of the guard.
Webster's was a sad one because it was just injuries. He just kept getting injured, and he would get himself fit again, and he would then he would get injured, then he would come back and be so rusty, and then he would get injured again. So people would remember him as being a bit of a donkey. But realistically, the only games you were seeing was him half injured. So it's a shame with Webster, but I think he's just a good club man now. He's Sussex boy anyway, so he's local lad. So it's always good when you've got people like that. Dunk, I love him. Think he's fantastic. Still is, but probably on his decline side of it, but I still can't say decline with Lewis Dunk yet because it's completely unfair. But it's Van Hecker at the moment. No one expected it, no one saw it. By far our best defender. Be interesting to see if Kadioglu has a go actually against Chelsea. I haven't mentioned him yet, because I could see Veltman perhaps being dropped, or even Tariq Lamptey.
Really,
with a bit of pace. That's what I'm thinking. The amount of pace you've got, it will be a case of trying to keep up with that.
I'd love to see Lamptey, to be fair, back at the Bridge.
I love Lamptey.
He's a good player, man. He just injuries all the time. Such a good player. Such a good player.
It's a shame. Such a talented kid. And if it wasn't for the injuries in lockdown, I think he probably would have been one of the first big moves that we had, to be honest. So with that in mind, let's go. I reckon Kadioglu starts. I'm going to lock that one in, and I'm going to say 1-1. Okay. I don't think we'll concede too many. Or at least I hope we don't, because I feel like we're not stupid enough to go there and do probably what we did against Forest and sit that high. I think maybe we chanced them and thought, you know what, we can kill Forest off here, and we probably should have done. And then we got caught cold. And as I said, credit to Forest for doing it. They saw it and finished it off. Fair enough. But I think against Chelsea, we must be a bit more reserved than that and think, we can't do that. So I'll say 1-1. I think we will concede. I think we're on a bit of a conceding thing at the minute. But I think we'll score as well. I think we're good up front. Probably one of the better attacks in the league at the moment with personnel. So yeah, let's go 1-0, Matisse. Is that fair?
Well, it's fine. Hopefully it doesn't happen though, because I
want to win.
I need this win badly. I'll be honest. I'm under pressure right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's so early in the season. I'm not getting too carried away. But Matisse, you've been a pleasure to have on, mate, as always. Have we missed anything before wrapping up the stream? I don't even know.
I mean, I was going to say on your goalkeepers, I guess they're both just interchangeable as well.
No, not anymore.
Not anymore. Because I remember before I couldn't even predict who your goalkeeper would be for a game.
Yeah, we were rotating between Steele and Verbruggen. I think it will be Verbruggen. I think even Hertzler said that it's going to be Verbruggen. But mate, honestly, the goalkeeper thing, I remember last season going to Stamford Bridge and I was right behind the goal. 4 rows away from the goal. And just Sanchez was driving me crazy because he was between probably me and my wall there away from me. And he just kept on giving it to the away end. Bro. And just time wasting.
This is the part that I'm probably underplaying, because from a fan perspective, I don't think the fans are coming into this game with a rivalry with Brighton, but I think the players are. They probably are, because naturally they just will. And if
do you see Webster's comment?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen it yet.
No way. Webster commented on Sanchez's thing when he saved a penalty for you, saying, "Nice of you to go the right way for once." So they're ready.
Sanchez will start, Cucurella will start, Caicedo will start, Levi Cole will start, who I think is going to be the most respectful out of the bunch.
Yeah.
And is there anyone else that we have?
Well, technically, you could go by Dewsbury Hall if you really want. If you really start Dewsbury Hall, that's just spiteful.
He won't play.
That's just spiteful if you started him.
He won't play. So yeah, those four will definitely start. So there will be enough in there for a bit of a back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, Caicedo is the one I don't really mind. I would normally, I don't like Cucurella and I don't like
Cucurella is going to be a bastard. I'm telling you now.
But mate, if you were an England fan and just scrapped out Chelsea of the equation, you would hate Cucurella as well because he just drives you crazy. He's just a little rat. But no, taking all that out of it. I think, let's say, I think Caicedo's all right. All right. I think because he still comments on some of our players' stuff and you can sort of respect him a bit. You'll be like, okay, I live with it. You got £100 million buy.
Beautiful. You got a beautiful amount of money. 115. You played us and Liverpool against each other like a fiddle. It's mad.
Yeah, it certainly did. All right, mate. I'm scared now. I'm scared.
Yeah, me and you both, because I treat every Premier League game like a Champions League final now, so I'm scared for every 100%.
Game. It probably won't do much for you, mate, but plug yourself if you want. This will be going on YouTube anyway and Spotify. So
yeah, 100%. MAH on YouTube. We're just plowing along. I'll be honest, we're plowing along. And we're going to be doing the watch along. Going to be very nervous for it. Preview will be out tomorrow.
I might have to watch that.
I look forward to that. And just putting out content every day and almost at 100k. So yeah, appreciate any support. 100%.
Looking good. Top man. I doubt many people want to go watch Chelsea content, but if you do, fair play. If you really want to watch, if we do win, it's worth the meltdown. But no, Matisse, you've been top.
Pleasure.
Make sure you like and comment and subscribe as well if you're on YouTube and watching this. And we'll see you after Chelsea, which could be a very interesting one. Yeah, and goodbye.
Big up, people. Peace.